Hi, this is Marcus Guiliano, chef on a mission. Today's mission is health. America's favorite topic, hamburgers. Hamburgers have grown in popularity. Hamburgers have always been popular, first of all. But hamburgers are all of a sudden explosive right now. You have places like Elevation Burger, which has grown to 150 stores in the last 5 years. Smash Burger, which originated out west, is moving towards the East Coast in Jersey, hitting New York pretty soon here, hitting Brooklyn, I believe, or Queens. You've always had In-N-Out Burgers, which is a family-run place on the West Coast that's been very popular. Has a very good image. You have upscale burger places. I mean, you have celebrity chefs that are now in the burger game that are putting expensive burgers on their menus, and you have something called Five Napkin Burger, which is a growing upscale burger restaurant in the New York area here, but that's expanding. So what is it with hamburgers and Americans? It's like one of those things where we know that we shouldn't be eating hamburgers because of all the saturated fat and the grease and especially when you add the bacon and the white bread but despite of all of the warnings on hamburgers, it's this massive craze across America that is uncontrollable, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So are there healthier burgers is the first question, or is there a healthy burger? Well, thedailybeast.com just listed their healthiest burgers in America, okay? 20 different burgers here. And the first one's the In-N-Out Burger. It's called with onion protein style. So there's no bread, so it gets rid of the carbs. I'm a firm believer that, wheat in general is just not good for you. But once you process it and make white flour out of it, it's so detrimental to your health. I mean, so detrimental. If you do want to enjoy a burger, the best way to do it is with a whole grain, 100% whole grain, or better yet, a sprouted grain bun. Something like from Food for Life, the Ezekiel brand, would be ideal. Alvarado Street sprouted. Those are going to be the ideal buns, but you're not going to find those in most restaurants. So it's like, well, what do? You hope they're serving something that's remotely whole grain, because just because something says whole grain or whole wheat doesn't mean it's 100% whole wheat. It's very misleading. You have to read labels. So this burger has no bread, so that's probably why it's top of the list here. But as I went through the whole list, I couldn't find one single burger that stressed it came from grass-fed beef, grass-fed, grass-finished. All the burgers here are based upon calorie content. Calories easy to do because you can just shrink the portion size and get a smaller calorie count. That's easy to manipulate that game. Or take the fat ratios and do because a regular burger is 80% meat, 20% fat. It's called 80-20 in the chef industry. That's what we order, 80-20 or 90-10, or sometimes 75-25, which means there's 25% of volume of fat. The volume, that doesn't weigh out how much calories are in there from fat, because that's, remember, 9 calories per fat per gram and 4 calories for protein. So you're really now almost doubling it. So you're almost like a 50-50, almost like 50% fat and calories from something that's 75-25. Just astronomical. But grass-fed meat is much, much different. Even if you have the higher fat content in the grass-fed meat, it's just totally, totally different. So but not one on here did a grass-fed burger. Is nobody in America doing a grass-fed burger? Well, Elevation Burger is. Maybe I might have missed Elevation Burger if they are on here, but Elevation Burger is doing a grass-fed imported beef, not American beef, imported USA certified organic grass-fed, grass-finished beef. Hats off to them for taking a step and going mainstream like that, because that's really huge. But here's some of the benefits from grass-fed, grass-finished beef that some people just don't quite understand. There's a lot of people out there that get the picture, and they're probably dying to have a grass-fed burger that's juicy. So, did you know that grain-fed feedlot beef have 4 to 6 times the amount of saturated fat versus grass-fed? It's a major, major difference. Omega-3s, those heart healthy fats, which are vital for our brain and our heart, and 2 to 6 times more omega-3s in grass-fed, grass-finished beef versus grained beef. Okay? People with diets rich in omega-3s are less likely to have high blood pressure. Very true. A French study linked that women with higher levels of omega-3 had less breast cancer and less cases of severe breast cancer. That actually came from a French study. So here's the thing. Some farmers say, or some restaurants say, or some advocates out there say, well, I grass feed my beef and then I put it on some grain to supplement it so it gets more of the fat. And they say, but that doesn't really make a difference over the overall health. Everything is cause and effect. Okay, you can't get one without the other. So as soon as you start feeding beef grain, it starts diminishing. Now it might not be the same. Now granted, if you have cattle on pastures that are eating grass and grain, it's not going to be as detrimental as something that goes into a feedlot and just eats nothing but grain. That's going to be totally different. But once the animal's introduced to grain, that starts dropping down. All the omega-3s and the fats start going up. Else, if it didn't, why are they feeding the animal grain to begin with? Because their argument is, well, we need to supplement it to build up a little bit of the marbling. Well, what happens in the marbling? That's fat. So it's like some of these people are talking out of both ends here. Some of these farmers and producers, because you can't have one without the other. Okay, if it's the same benefits as the grass-fed, then don't give it grain at all and market your product as grass-fed, grass-finished. But they know it's packing weight onto the animal. It's the finishing process. Okay. Here's one of the big things that happens from grass-fed beef. CLAs, conjugated linoleic acid, and this happened in the mid-80s, maybe 1987, they started doing research on the benefits of conjugated linoleic acid. So 1987 was when it was first really discovered it in research. So you really can't, it's such a new thing. I mean, we're only talking 20 plus years here of research on CLA. So long-term cancer studies and things like that are really hard to pinpoint. But the preliminary studies are, reduction in cancer, obesity, diabetes, and immune disorders for conjugated linoleic acid. Now, here's an interesting thing. If you're eating dairy, and you're having dairy from 100% grass-fed, grass-finished, 500% increase of conjugated linoleic acid in grass-fed versus animals that are grain-fed. Massive, massive difference. So, I would like to see a hamburger study survey, hamburger list out there based upon the healthiest hamburgers, based upon restaurants that are grass feeding or restaurants that are getting grass-fed meat. Based upon that, that's where I really think healthy hamburgers are really going to shine here in America. You know what? Before 1960, that was all you could get was grass-fed. We didn't have that whole corn and feedlot stuff like that. But with the merging and the growth of these big massive companies like Tyson and Purdue, which are in the poultry world, and Montford and IBP and Excel in the beef world, things just got bigger. So it's how can we get more weight on the animal? How can we get more fat, more marbling, tenderer beef, and make more money? Well, of course, it's not by getting animals out on grass pastures with plenty of room to roam. No, it's taking 250,000 animals and sticking them in a 5-mile square feedlot and just shoving massive amounts of food in there, including cardboard, manure, and other things that are actually going to be good weight gainers for them, stale pastries. So, everything is cause and effect. Things just don't happen. Animals just don't get fattier from not eating the grain. So everything is cause and effect here, and I really want you to understand that. But really, let's try to find some healthy burgers out there. If you know of a healthy burger, a good grass-fed burger, restaurant that's doing it out there, leave a comment here, point us in the right direction. I think, if you are going to eat a hamburger, that's totally the way to go. Grass-fed, try to get the whole grain or skip the bun, and enjoy America's favorite pastime, a hamburger. I'm Marcus Guiliano, marcusg.tv. You can find all of my videos, health, wine, beer, restaurant. I'm a chef on a mission.